themselves at the center of this latest battle, not just with Stone and Corsi, but with Paul Manafort as well. Now, after it was suggested by the Guardian newspaper that Manafort met 3 times with Wikileaks founder Julian Assange, both Manafort and Assange have threatened legal action against the UK paper for libel. Now, joining us now is someone who knows a lot about how WikiLeaks operates is Peter Schweizer. He's the president of the Government Accountability Institute. Peter, WikiLeaks seems to be intersecting with all the Mueller targets here. So what is actually going on here? Again, I think most people trying to unpack this, it's very confusing, and it seems very remote from this idea of Russian meddling in the elections and colluding with a Trump person. But explain it for us.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. I mean, look, when the FBI issued its initial finding on the 2016 election, they talked about the fact that the Russians wanted to sow dissension in the United States. That was the basic theme. But, you know, the Clinton campaign and the Democrats did not want to accept the 2016 election results. And they quickly pushed this narrative that really what the Russians were doing was helping Donald Trump win. And they now are hoping that Mueller's going to come up with evidence of that fact, and they simply haven't. In fact, if you look at what happened in 2016, you look at all the things at play, the Steele dossier, you find Russian fingerprints everywhere, and not designed to help Donald Trump, but designed to cause dissension. WikiLeaks has, long time been a crossroads for information. It provides information to reporters. It gets used by news sources. But the notion that somehow it is part of some master plan that they collaborated with the Trump campaign and the Russians is just laughable. And I think the pushback that you're getting on these claims by The Guardian are evidence that there's a lot of false misinformation out there about precisely what went on.
Well, at some point, an attorney general, if we had an attorney general who wasn't acting, didn't have any kind of cloud hanging over his head, would say, okay, at what point can the special counsel's office be sanctioned? I mean, this is the problem with these special counsels, independent counsels. They're kind of running wild with the veneer of supervision. I know Rosenstein and Trump have seemed like they're getting along better, and that's great. But if the whole game here is to turn the screws on like 72-year-old men to say, okay, right, you're going to, gasp your last breath in prison unless you fess up to like spooning with Julian Assange, the whole thing is a farce. And at some point, the special counsel's office, if this keeps going the way it's going, I don't understand why there wouldn't be sanctions filed against some of these lawyers making these outrageous moves in our judicial system, honestly. That's where I am on this right now. Unless something else happens, that's where I am tonight.
No, I think you're right, Laura. And look, the narrative and the goalpost keeps shifting. I mean, the original narrative was that the Trump, the meeting at Trump Tower and the Russians, they're working together. Then it's Roger Stone is working with Julian Assange. Well, what these emails show, of course, is Roger Stone didn't have contact with Julian Assange. He's asking Jerome Corsi to reach out to Julian Assange. So now the focus is on, this author, Jerome Corsi, who's 72 years old, who was not involved in the Trump campaign, was not a central player in this drama, and they've decided they're going to put the squeeze on him.
But he has a book out. By the way, this is the news story today, Peter, in the New York Times. Okay, I just got to put up this headline real quick, get you to react to it. So this is the news story that Manafort's attorneys have been briefing Trump's attorneys on what he told Mueller. Well, so what? Welcome to the world of information sharing among lawyers. Big deal.
That's exactly right. I mean, defense clients do this all the time in criminal cases. They do it in investigations. This is what's done. I mean, this is where it's come. And to the larger point that I was making, Laura, to your point about the Attorney General, thiner issues, I mean, you look at the Steele dossier. Christopher Steele, the person that wrote it. You look at the gentleman at the State Department, Weiner, who was pushing it and legitimizing it. You look at a guy like Adam Waldron, who was also pushing it. All of them are tied to a Russian oligarch named Oleg Deripaska. Well, it'd be very interesting to find out what role, if any, that this Russian official might have played in pushing the Steele dossier. I don't think the Mueller investigation is going to look at it. If we had an attorney general, they could certainly make make sure that that was subject of a serious investigation. But
Yeah.
as long as you don't have someone making a priority, it's not going to happen.
All right. Interesting information all around. Focus of tonight's angle.
I put an attorney general that never took control of the Justice Department, Jeff Sessions, never took control of the Justice Department, and it's a sort of an incredible thing.
I'm disappointed in the attorney general for many reasons, and you understand that.
Well, it happens in relationships. The president and Jeff Sessions started off strong. They were tight. But then they basically ended up hating each other. Well, it's been 3 weeks since Trump canned Sessions, and we haven't heard much